Hey everybody, today we're going to do another alternate history. This time it's going to be 2016 Hillary Clinton up against Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, the runner-up in that GOP primary. So let's see what would happen if he was actually the nominee. Now, I've said I'm not big on doing alternate histories, so this is a rarity. Apologies if you want to see more of these. I just think there's way too much speculation. So here's a refresher on the 2016 election. Donald Trump got 304 electoral votes, and there were some faithless electors. He carried 30 states. He got Maine second and 46.1% of the popular vote. Hillary Clinton, she got 227 electoral votes, 20 states plus D.C., good enough for 48.2% of the popular vote. And we can also consider that Gary Johnson, he did get over 3% of the national popular vote, and there was another couple of percent between Jill Stein and others. So this was pretty much a change election. This is coming off Obama's second term in 2012, and there was a lot of frustration out there. Hillary Clinton was pure establishment. Donald Trump was shaking up the system, and he made a lot of new enemies, but he did activate a lot of new voters. Now, if you swap out Trump for Cruz, Cruz is going to do better with evangelicals. He's going to do better in the traditional, more establishment Republican states. He's not going to activate as many new voters as Trump did. Now, he would do a little bit better probably with suburban voters, as they wouldn't be as animated to come out against him, but I think he would end up doing worse than Trump overall, because Trump was essentially the catalyst for a new political realignment, and Trump did very well in the Rust Belt. He even almost won Minnesota. A lot of voters were frustrated there with trade policies and economic situations. Trump was speaking to a lot of their concerns, and Trump did not shy away from a lot of the cultural concerns of a lot of working class voters in those states. Higher educated and wealthier voters, they were repulsed by Trump, but I don't think they're going to be as repulsed by Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz does kind of come off as a sleazy car salesman. I think a lot of voters in the middle and the blue-leaning areas, they're not going to hate Cruz. They're just not going to take him seriously, and they would just vote establishment Democrat. Also, Ted Cruz would have had that establishment backing, and I think Republican voters were tired of the establishment more than the Democrats. So overall, I think Cruz would do a few points worse across most states, but not all of them. Now, your map is bound to look a little bit different than mine, but let's get started and quickly go through these states. Alaska will be over 10 points safe for Cruz. Hawaii, safe for Clinton. Back up to the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, safe for Clinton. Oregon went for Clinton by about 11. If it was Ted Cruz, the voters in Portland, they're still pretty much going to vote for Clinton, but Cruz would lose out on those voters in Eastern Oregon who decided to come out and support Trump. So I think the margin would be a little bit worse for Cruz in a place like Oregon. Next, in Nevada, Clinton won it by almost 2.5. In this matchup, I still think it would be leans for Clinton. Idaho and Utah, safe for Cruz. Arizona, I think Cruz would do a little bit better than Trump, and it would just barely clear 5 points, so it's going to go likely for Cruz. Montana, Wyoming, safe for Cruz. In Colorado, Clinton won it by just under 5 points. In this matchup, I'm actually not sure which way it would go. I already think Trump did pretty well back in 16, so I'm going to keep it at about the same margin. Borderline leans likely for Clinton. New Mexico, likely for Clinton. North Dakota, South Dakota, safe for Cruz. Nebraska at large, safe for Cruz. The 2nd District. Trump did win this in 16. Since then, it did go to the left. But if it were Ted Cruz, I still think he would win it by a leans margin. Kansas, Oklahoma, safe for Cruz. How about Ted Cruz' home state of Texas? Trump won it by about 9. I think Ted Cruz would win it by over 10. So it is going to go safe for Cruz. That's another state where Cruz would do better than Trump. Let's go to Minnesota. We know Trump surprisingly almost won this in 2016. Lost by only about 1.5 points. Ted Cruz, I think, would do worse. It's hard to say how much worse. I think it would be by a few points. So I'll say right at about 5 points, and that will be likely for Clinton. Let's go to Iowa. Cruz wouldn't do too bad here. He'd still win that by a likely margin. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, safe for Cruz. Now let's go up to the crucial state of Wisconsin. We know Trump very narrowly won it. I think Cruz would do worse by at least 1 or 2 points, and that's going to flip this, and it's going to go leans for Clinton. Illinois, safe for Clinton. Michigan, similar to Wisconsin, it's going to go leans for Clinton. Indiana, safe for Cruz. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, safe for Cruz. Now let's go down to Florida. Trump won the state by just over 1 point in 2016. Ted Cruz will probably not do too bad in South Florida. I'm going to keep this at a very similar margin, right around 1 point, leans for Cruz. Now let's go one state north to Georgia. Trump won this by just over 5. I think Ted Cruz would win it by at least that margin, so it's going to go likely for Cruz. South Carolina, safe for Cruz. North Carolina, I think, would still be leans for Cruz. Now we can jump up to Ohio. Trump won this by about 8. I think Ted Cruz would do a little bit worse here. Trump is a better fit. He accelerated the rightward trends in the state. Ted Cruz would still win the state, but there would not be as much of a shift. So it's going to go low to mid single digits. Leans for Cruz. West Virginia will be safe for Cruz. Now we can go to Maine at large. Trump actually did well here in 2016. Clinton won here by only about 3 points. But at large, I think Ted Cruz would do worse, and it would go likely for Clinton. The first district, safe for Clinton. The second district, Trump actually cleared 10 points here. Ted Cruz, on the other hand, it's going to come down to a likely margin. Now let's go to New Hampshire. This was a tough call for me. Clinton very narrowly won it in 16. Ted Cruz, I don't think he has a ton of appeal in a place like New Hampshire. I don't think Trump necessarily does either. I think they both kind of cancel each other out. And in the end, I just left it where it was. Tilt for Clinton. Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Washington, D.C. Over 10 points, safe for Clinton. Now we've got Pennsylvania, another key Rust Belt state. And this is going to be similar to Wisconsin and Michigan. Cruz will do a couple of points worse, and it's going to go leans for Clinton. And the last state is Virginia, and that's going to go likely for Hillary Clinton. So there's your final total. That comes out to 278 for Hillary Clinton, 260 for Ted Cruz. So Clinton does win it, mostly due to the Rust Belt. I know that's kind of an easy call to make, but that's pretty much all I could do without getting too crazy. Cruz does better than Trump in places like Arizona, Texas, Georgia, Kansas. But overall, I think Trump would have been stronger in this election. Almost everybody said Trump was going to lose. So I know if Ted Cruz was the nominee and he did lose, those same people would have said if Trump was the nominee that he would have did even worse than Cruz. So we know that would be incorrect. Trump did better. He won. Hillary Clinton had a lot of experience, but she was a weak candidate with her extreme establishment credentials, unrelatable consultant-tested personality, neoliberal policy positions. That just wasn't going to cut it anymore back in 2016. Of course, she almost won, but Trump did activate a lot of new voters. So there is a lot of speculation here. I'm assuming Ted Cruz became the nominee, and there was not bitter infighting between him and Trump, because you could take another route and say if Trump was not the nominee, he would have sabotaged the Republicans, he would have attacked Cruz relentlessly, and then Cruz would have done even worse. You could take that route. You could take the route that Trump never even ran, and maybe Ted Cruz would do 1 or 2 points better. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of different things you could emphasize that will sway the margins in these states. That's why I don't find these to be overly useful, but a lot of people seem to like the alternate histories. Just wanted to get one more out there. This should spark some conversation. It's almost hard to imagine that Colorado and Minnesota were only leans for Clinton back in 2016, and in other places like Georgia, that was still reliably Republican at that point. This was the beginning of a new modern political realignment. Swapping out Trump for Cruz, I think, would have resulted in a loss for the Republicans, and then there's no telling how these states would have voted in the subsequent elections. It's easy in hindsight to just make up any numbers, any margins. I try to take it seriously and look at each state, but you're going to have a different take, so let me know in the comments. Do you agree with this map? If not, which states, which margins would you change? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.